everyone, and welcome to another Tempo Strategy Legends of Runeterra deck spotlight. Call of the Mountain has had some time to settle, and the strongest strategies from the set have begun to show their faces. Of these strategies, Lux Aurelion Sol in particular has been rising in popularity. This archetype has a decent mid-range curve, excellent late-game value engines, and solid creature-based removal spells. Before we get into the video, please take a moment to subscribe to the channel and click the bell icon to stay up to date with more Tempo Strategy content. Now let's shed some light on Lux Sol control. Lux Sol aims to play a long game of Legends of Runeterra. Lux and Aurelion Sol are both slow value-oriented champions that need time to set up. The build tends to not play many followers, instead using that deck space to fit an abundance of spells for Lux. The followers that find its way into the deck list do so because they are highly efficient for their mana cost. As for the deck's spells, most will fall under the category of healing, card draw, or fight effects. Some of the deck's spells, however, do not fall under these categories, like Hush and Remembrance. Solari Soldier and Solari Shieldbreaker make up the deck's early game turns. While both Solari cards are low cost, they provide an excellent body on the turn they are played. A well-placed Solari unit can do such a great job at gumming up the board that it can dissuade a player from using their attack token altogether. The last early game unit in the deck is Grizzled Ranger. Grizzled is a solid attacker and blocker that leaves behind an even stronger unit on last words. Rounding out the deck's follower package is Radiant Guardian. One of the most important creatures in the deck, Radiant Guardian will stabilize you in the mid-game. Combined with fight effects such as single combat and concerted strike, the sheer amount of healing and raw stats provided by Radiant Guardian can often be insurmountable for the aggressive decks of the format. In slower matchups where healing may not matter as much, the 5/5 tough body should still be hard to deal with. Pale Cascade, Guiding Touch, and Star Shaping fulfill somewhat similar roles in the deck. They can be used to heal up injured units to win trades while providing additional card advantage. Though Pale Cascade cannot be used on the Nexus, Guiding Touch and Star Shipping can, and will often be used to stall you further into the late game. Keep in mind the power of these healing effects, especially against things such as Swain Twisted Fate. Those decks rely heavily on Ravenous Flock, and a simple Guiding Touch can destroy an enemy plan. Remembrance plays an important role for the deck. Since it costs 6, it will work perfectly for generating Lux lasers. It can be played as early as turn 3, and if played that early, it should be making the strongest unit on the board. In some situations, the unit created off of Remembrance can be huge. Screeching Dragon and Swiftwing Lancer can dominate early units, while Vanguard Cavalry or Radiant Guardian can be tough to remove. While the deck mostly relies on single combat and concerted strike to remove enemy units, it does have other tricks up its sleeve. While Hush is not exactly a removal spell, it is crucial for shutting down enemy threats, able to silence multiple enemies for the turn in a single action. Thanks to invokes off of Aurelion Sol and Star Shaping, you might be able to find additional removal through the game. The occasional Sunburst may also make its way into the deck, furthering the deck's ability to silence and remove key threats. When mulliganing, generally you are looking for cards that will help you survive the early game. Both Solari Soldier and Solari Shieldbearer are generally solid keeps. Grizzled Ranger is a solid keep if you already have an early play. Against aggro, Radiant Guardian is one of your most important cards and is often worth keeping. When facing slower decks, consider keeping Lux, since you should have the time to safely get her into play. If there are key units you will need to remove early, and you have a Solari unit to go alongside it, single combat should also be a strong keep. If the enemy is playing a deck all in on their champions, such as Ezreal or Fiora, Hush is often a great card to keep in the opening hand. The early turns for this game tend to be uneventful. Often you will bank spell mana for Remembrance. If you have them, it may be tempting to play your Solari units on turn 1 and 2, but don't just slam them. Sometimes it is worth waiting for a turn where their Daybreak effect is relevant on the board. Try not to fall too far behind on board during the early turns so that you can start looking to stabilize in the mid-game. The early game ends at around turn 4, where you will ideally be able to get a Grizzled Ranger into play. You have likely taken a bit of damage, hopefully it wasn't too much and you are healthy. If you are low, however, you might be able to set up Radiant Guardian. Once in play, her very presence, alongside 2 open mana, can force opponents into uncomfortable plays. If the enemy is not pressuring you too hard, you may get a chance to sneak Lux into play. If not answered quickly, the value Lux threatens to generate can be overwhelming. At this point of the game, you may be able to assemble powerful concerted strikes, and you should be feeling your grip on the game tightening as you get closer to the late game. This deck enters its late game starting at around turn 8. The Aurelion Sol turn is coming up soon, and your game plan should continue to be keep the enemy board at bay while I keep myself healthy and assemble my win condition. In the control mirrors, this is when the game becomes interesting. Just like you are trying to set up your win condition, so is the enemy. enemy. Figure out the safest way to get yours online while having a plan ready for the enemies. Generally, if you can level up Aurelion Sol, you should be able to win the game shortly after, though some games can get very grindy, and they may be able to answer Aurelion Sol. In these long games, you should be able to find a win due to the extra card advantage created by invoke effects. The Call of the Mountain metagame is continuously evolving as we strive to find out the strongest decks in today's format. Sol Control has established itself as a powerful contender, and the Demacia variants of it just might be leading the charge. Radiant Guardian works wonders at bringing you to the late game, while Lux works well alongside Targonian spells. Have you played much Sol Control? What is your favorite region to play alongside it? Let us know in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the Tempo Strategy YouTube channel to stay up to date with more of our Legends of Runeterra content. We'll see you next time!